Okay, so your quiz is over, and we are going to move on to the next topic in CSS, which is how to make a menu bar, navigation bar. They're on almost every single website. And so some of it is going to use what we just did in the last section with the box model. The rest of it is going to build on what we did previously with some other things. So when you go to a website, like for example, if I pull up the school website, and we have a navigation bar, and I can hover over it and click on different options. I can go to any commercial website and find this. How do we actually do that with CSS? And the answer is we're going to use it or create it by using a bulleted list. So you need to be taking these notes as we watch the video, please. So we've created by making a bulleted list, which remember in HTML we call an unordered list. And we can make either a horizontal one or we can make a vertical one. Honestly, the vertical one's a little bit easier to create, so that's going to be the first one that I'm going to show you. Okay, there are several steps that we need to follow. The first thing that we want to make sure that we do is we want to get rid of the bullet itself. So we're making a bulleted list, but we really don't want the little dot or whatever symbol that might be. So the way we're going to do this is in our CSS commands, we're going to use UL as our selector. And what we're going to do is we're going to set it to list style type, list-style-type. We're going to set it to none. This should look familiar to you. We learned list style type when we covered bulleted and numbered lists. Okay, so we've gotten that out of the way. Next thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of some padding and margin. And we need to remove it from the left side of the list. And the reason that we need to do this, and I haven't mentioned this to you before, but that is that some browsers add padding and margin to it. Some automatically add some padding and margin, and so you just need to remove it. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to use the UL tag again, or UL selector, and then in brackets we're going to do margin dash left. We're going to set that value to 0 pixels. And we'll do padding dash left. And we're going to set that value to 0 pixels. Okay, so notice that, again, I use the UL selector here, and I did up here. In reality, I would put this all together as one big declaration block. And I'll show it to you in an example in a little bit. All right, so we got rid of our symbol, we got rid of our padding and our margin. Now we have to get rid of something else, and we're going to remove the link. Not the link, sorry. We're going to remove the underline from the link. Something that we just learned in the last section. So what we'll do, we'll go a:\link, just like we did with pseudo classes. We're going to set text decoration. We're going to set the value to none. Okay, then the next thing comes into play, and that is how big do we want our buttons to be? So you're going to determine the width. So we'll do width colon, and we're just going to set it to pixels. Now when we use this particular command, you can actually use this with either the LI tag, the UL tag, or the A tag. You can decide which one you want to use to determine the width. Okay, then guess it's not gonna it's not going to behave for me the way I'd like to. The next thing we're going to do, step number 5, is we're going to display our link as block level. Again, this goes back to what we just did last week. Items in HTML tags are either block level or inline level. Links are inline level, so we need to actually change it to block level. So what we'll do is we'll just do the A for our selector, display, we'll set it to block. And remember what that does? We just learned it last week. It's going to put space up above and below the item. Okay, so this is going to accomplish several things. It's going to make your buttons a uniform size. It's also going to make the entire button area clickable. If you don't do it, it'll make just the link clickable, and then you have all this gap around it where a user might try to click and it won't take you anywhere. And a third thing to keep in mind with this particular step is you may need to create a class. You probably need to create a class if there are other links on the page. Because if you don't, then you'll end up making buttons out of every link on the entire web page, which you typically do not want to do. Okay, so those are the basics, and then there are still a few more steps that you want to follow. So step number 6, this is where you make it look pretty. Step number 6, I don't know why it won't let me do a number 6 here. Try this again, 6. Okay. I'm going to stop fighting with this. We're going to adjust the background color. We're going to adjust the border. We're going to adjust the padding as necessary. That all depends on how you want your buttons to look. I've had enough with this. Let me see. Set numbering value. Okay, back in business. Okay, so we're going to do that. And step number 7, this is more of an aesthetic thing that you don't really have to do, but typically you want to, and that is to center your text on the buttons. You really don't want to make these nice looking buttons where the text is all smooshed off to the left. So the way that we're going to do this, there are 2 ways to center. One is you want to vertically center the text. So from top to bottom, you want to make that right in the middle. The way that we'll do that is we'll use the LI selector, and then in brackets, we'll do line height. We're going to set that value to whatever you want, 2M, 1M, 1.5M. Then we're going to set the height. We're going to set that to M. And then all you want to do is use the same values for both. So maybe I want my line height to be 2M. I would also set the height to be 2M. One last step, and that is use some pseudo classes. Why do we want to use pseudo classes? We want to use them to alter the behavior and or the appearance of your buttons. Okay, so pseudo classes, we just did these, so they should be easy, but that's going to be your A link, your A visited, your A hover, your A active. So those are the basics for making a vertical navigation bar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one for you and show this to you as an example. So if you're behind on your notes, you'll want to pause or back up, but I do need you to check out my example. So I'm going to pull up Notepad right now. Mrs. Rivera can't type tonight. All right, so I'm going to do some internal CSS. So I'll do style type equals text slash CSS. I'm going to come back to this. I'll do my closing style tag, my closing head tag. Now what I'm going to do here is create a button bar. So I'm going to put in a bulleted list. So I'll do my UL tag and I'll do LI. And I'm just going to make a button bar that's going to take, or a menu bar that's going to take me to some different search engines. So let's see, I want one that's going to take me to Yahoo, one that's going to take me to Bing, one that's going to take me to Google, and one that's going to take me to Dogpile. And then I'm going to close my bulleted list. All right. Now I see up here I forgot my body tag, so I'll throw in a body tag. I'll throw in my closing body tag and a closing HTML. All right, that'll get me the bulleted list. What I don't have are actual links right now. So now what I'm going to do is in my HTML, I'm going to squeeze in each of these list items a link. So I'll do href equals. Remember, when we're making a link to a website, you have to put in that full URL. I'm going to put my closing A tag right after that. And then I'm going to do the same thing down below. So Bing, I'll do href equals. There's my link, and I'll do my closing A tag. And same thing down here. With my closing A tag. And the last one right here. With my closing A tag. First thing I'm going to do is save this. Now I realize I have not done any CSS yet. So I'm going to call it navbar.html. I'm going to go to the desktop of the computer. And there it is. I'm going to open it up so you can see what it looks like before we do anything. Just a plain old bulleted list. They are links. They will take me where I'm trying to go, but definitely doesn't look like what you see on fancy web pages. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my file, and where my CSS would go, my internal CSS, I am going to apply some of the things that I just told you in the notes. So I want to get rid of that bulleted symbol that goes in front of each line of text. So I'm going to do list-style-type, and I am going to set that to none. At the same time, I'm also going to get rid of the margin left. I'm going to set that to 0 pixels. I'm going to do padding left, and I'm going to set that to 0 pixels. I'm going to stop for right now and go back to my document. So when you see my document, again, you see that extra gap in here? That's the extra margin and padding that gets put in here. I'm going to reload the page. You can see it moved it all the way to the left, got rid of the bullet symbols, and now I'm going to take it a little bit further. So one of the things we want to do is get rid of the underline. So I'm going to do a link, and I'm going to do text decoration, set that to none. I'll reload my page, and yep, sure enough, those links have gotten rid of their underlines. I'm going to decide how wide I want my buttons to be. So let's see, let me try LI. Remember, I can do this with UL, LI, or A, and I'm going to go width, and I'm going to set it to 200 pixels. I might not like that, but I'm going to go with that for right now. I'm going to take that link, and I'm going to make it displayed as a block level item. And there are several benefits to that, but one is we want to make our buttons a uniform size. And now I'm going to adjust my background color my border, my padding. So let me try doing that. I'll do that as part of the LI. I'll do padding, and I'm going to set that to 25 pixels. I'm going to do background color, and I'm going to set it to a light pink. I'm going to do a border, and I'm going to make my border 5 pixels. Ridge. And I'm going to set it to gray. Okay. I want to center my buttons. And so the way I want to do that is I want to use that as part of the LI tag. So I'm going to just add it up here to what I've already put. I'm going to go line height. I'm going to set it to 3M. I'm going to set my height to 3M. Remember, we want to keep those two values the same. And then I also want to make it, I want to horizontally center the text on my buttons, and I just realized that I forgot to have you put that in your notes. So I'm going to put it in here, but we'll have to put that back in our notes. So what I use is I do text-align, and I set that to center. Now that's actually a property that you've learned already. Okay. Now, I can also use pseudo classes to change the behavior of the buttons, but let me just see what I've done so far. So I'm going to reload my page, and there it is. I have buttons. They're all the same size. The links are centered in the centered horizontally and vertically. And now if I want to, I can change the behavior. So let's see, I already have a link up here. So I think I'll go a link, and I'm going to set my font. I'm going to set my font to Century Gothic. And I'm going to set my font size to 2M. Reload my page. Okay, yes, let's say that I like that, but maybe I want the color to be black. There we go. Okay, now a visited. Maybe if it's, no, let me not do visited this time. A hover. If someone hovers over it, maybe I want the color to be different. So I'll go background color. No, that's not what I want, is it? Well, let me go with this. Background color. I'll set it to white. We'll set the font color to dark pink, if there is a dark pink. Let me save that. Reload the page. And sure enough, if I hover over it, you can see in this case, it's only changing the background color of the link itself. So I still have that little padding that doesn't show up, but we'll just go with that. We'll pretend that this looks pretty. And then I'm going to go A active. So when someone clicks on my link, the background color is going to be yellow, and the font size is going to be 4M. We'll just go with that. Go back over here, reload my page, and now if I click, you can see what it does. Okay. Again, Mrs. Rivera has some pretty ugly looking examples here, but you can definitely see how this works, right? So the last thing is for you to go back to your notes, and up here, number 7, where I screwed up, we're going to add this. We need to horizontally center the text. And we do that with the LI selector. And we're just going to do text align. We're going to set that to center. And then you'll get a nice button with everything right in the middle like it should be. Okay, so this is just how we do a vertical navigation bar. I'm going to be doing some more with you tomorrow, and then we're going to move on and also learn to do a horizontal navigation bar. But this will be it. So if you could save your notes, please. And we're done.